Hello everybody and welcome. I'm No02 and thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to check the timestamps. Of course, always the timestamps. But while I wait for an RTS game that I'm interested to actually get a player population so that I can start putting content out for it, I've found a new addiction. Something that has been satisfying that RTS itch. And now granted it is a turn-based strategy game, but some of you may have recognized that this is Advanced Wars. Advanced Wars, but more specifically, this is Advanced Wars by Web that you see up here. Some incredibly brilliant people, passionate people, have made a web browser version where you can experience the Advanced Wars multiplayer experience. There's so much experience online against other people. You can play as all the commanders, you can create maps, you can save and download your replays, etc., etc. Lots of other details that we'll go into. This video is not a tutorial or a guide on how to be good or get better and things like that, but the introduction, because again, you know me, I like to get excited about stuff and then not make content for it. But I'm going to try and make content for this game because I have been enjoying this game greatly. The blast from the past, right? I was 8 years old when this game originally released, and I had so much fun playing it, and now I'm having a tremendous amount of fun playing it. There's a ranked ladder where you get ranked like a chess rating. Like I'm ranked, like my rating is like 800 or something like that, right? And higher up level people are 1300 rating and things like that, etc. They had tournaments with cash prizes and what have you. So what is this video really about? One, links. I'm going to provide a link to this website. You can make an account. It's totally free. You just give them your email and stuff like that, and the usual account making stuff, and then you can play online against other people, play custom games, play the ranked ladder. I think they call it the Global League, and be a part of the community and relive that childhood experience against other people here. Secondly, I am just going to simply explain how this game works and functions, the basics of this game, so that if you're interested in watching me play or have never heard of this before or want a refresher, when you do watch my content, there's a foundation of knowledge that you have that you understand, so that you're not totally lost. Because you might look at the screen and be very confused or very overwhelmed and not be sure what's going on. Right? So I'm going to go over the basics of this game and how it functions. Right? So, this is Advanced Wars turn-based strategy game. I move my units around and then end my turn. My opponent then gets to do the same thing. We build units, we attack each other, etc., etc., etc. How do you win? We both have a headquarters, or an HQ for short. We each have a fancy, unique building representing our color. He is orange, I am purple. This is his HQ. My HQ is over here, this Eiffel Tower looking thing. If you capture your opponent's HQ, you win the game. The other means of winning the game is the capture limit. There's all of these cities and towers. The game refers to them as urban environments, so that's what we'll call them. Each map has a set amount of urban environments. If you capture a certain number of them, a sort of vast majority of them, sort of like a 66% of the map, if you control about 66% of the map as far as captures go, you also automatically win the game. It's sort of basically at that point you have so much control of the map and so much potential income that really your opponent shouldn't be able to come back and beat you anyways. The third way that you win is by your opponent resigning, like a fancy chess game. They put their hand out, their virtual hand out, and they shake it and they say GG and they leave. Right? And you do that by destroying your opponent to the point that you're beginning to take over the entire map. Their unit count is super low, their unit value is super low. They realize that they've been beat and they resign. And that's typically how most games are won, though of course there are some cheeky strategies where you make a play for your opponent's HQ. But how do you capture things, right? How do you capture things? Uh, Behind the scenes here, you can sort of see in the bottom left, right down here, down here where my cursor is, you will see that a building has 20. We'll call that 20 HP. Each building, each urban environment has 20 HP. When you march an infantry on top of that urban environment, you get the option to capture it, and you'll select capture. That urban environment's HP is then reduced by your capturing infantry's current HP. Every unit in the game has 10 HP, represented by 100% or whatever. So when you march a healthy infantry on top of urban environment, you reduce its health by 10. So effectively, most captures will take 2 turns to fully capture the city and begin gaining its benefits. If a unit is injured, like you see this bazooka guy over here called a mech, he only has 8 HP. So typically, if he marched them on top of a building, he would reduce that urban environment's HP by 8, and it would take him 3 turns to capture it. You can sort of see that represented here. This C on this particular unit right here, he is in the middle of capturing. He began capturing it last turn, so the building's HP has been reduced by 10 that you can see in the HUD. Now, units can move and then begin capturing, and that'll be typically their turn. But a unit cannot capture and then also move. That's a very important distinction. In the same way, a unit can move and then fire and shoot at something. A unit cannot fire and then move. So typically, for the most part, all units in the game have what we might call one action. But that one action can be the combination of moving and shooting. And in that specific order, it cannot be shooting and moving or capturing and then moving. Unit movement. Every unit in the game has its own movement range, right? This infantry has a movement range of 3, and sort of represented by this blue grid. This vehicle has way more movement, etc. Right? We won't go over the little details here. Now, the environment may affect that movement. For instance, mountains. Vehicles cannot move through them. They have to drive around them. The forests obviously will slow down your vehicles, less effective against your infantry, so on and so forth. So the environment itself will determine how far a unit can particularly move, and what units are affected by what, or how significantly by what, is determined very nicely by wheels or treads. This recon here, it has wheels. It's a Jeep, right? And so things like forests and plains and other things like that are more dramatic as far as how they affect this vehicle's movement. Things like tanks, though, which have treads, are a little more rugged, or a little more capable of moving across rugged terrain. So their movement is typically hindered less by the environment. The other thing about the environment too is cover. As you see, if I hover over this road, and roads typically offer us full range of movement, the little stars down here in the bottom left, roads offer us no cover, which is represented by stars, but basically each star provides us with 1 point of cover or 10% bonus defense. Cities provide us 3 stars or 30% bonus defense. Forests provide us 2. Right? Mountains provide 4 to infantry that are standing on top of it. HQs provide 4, etc., etc. Right? So how you place your units and what unit is fighting against each other and which spot will make a difference, right? 2 of the same unit, like 2 infantry fighting each other, but one is standing on top of a mountain and the other one is standing on top of a road. The mountain infantry is guaranteed to win for the most part, though there are some circumstances that might change that. Your units can move through friendly units. Your units are blocked by enemy units, which is important. Now, you notice I have the grid on here. Everything's a square. Any individual unit has 4 angles of attack, right? This is not chess. We cannot go diagonal in this game. You have to move in up, left, down, or right? Anyways. As you can see here, this unit can attack in these 4 different directions. This is his attack range, represented by these 4 red squares. Because our units are blocked by enemy units, or we block them, for instance, what if we had a squishy artillery unit? We can take our infantry and surround that unit with our infantry. You can see I have units here blocking, right? This guy who's injured, he has 2 allied units standing next to him. If my enemy wanted to attack this bazooka guy, this mech, he only has 2 squares to do it from. If you wanted to attack it from more directions or from this side, he would have to destroy these units that are blocking his way first. That's a very important interaction when it comes to protecting your artillery or your anti-air guns, which I failed to do here because you can see it's hurt, and etc. That's the 4 angles of attack. There are some exceptions, like artillery, which have a range. They can shoot further than their 4 angles of attack that enemies would be attacking them, things like that. Typically, the game will define that as direct units and ranged units. Next up, we have macro, right? So each of these buildings, these cities that we've captured, that are my color, I have control of them. Each urban environment that I control provides me with 1,000 credits, 1K credits per building. That also includes the HQ, airports as well as our bases, etc. Right? Oh, it's funny. I accidentally base skipped in this round. But each building provides us with 1K credits. We then have urban environments that we would refer to as bases and airports, which allow us to produce units, and those units cost credits. We're only allowed to build 1 unit at a time out of each base, and a unit that is built is in the waiting state, right? So after similar to how we might move a unit and then attack or capture and wait, every time a unit performs an action, it gets grayed out, and that is the waiting state. So units that are built are automatically waiting, and then at your beginning of your next turn, those units are refreshed, and you can then move them out and build new units. This map here is the standard map, right? We have perfect vision, we have perfect knowledge. It's like a game of chess, essentially, where we're just trying to hide our strategies in plain sight, make correct decisions, make less mistakes, and just maneuver ourselves in a way that will find us success and see a couple turns ahead and things like that, right? This is a standard game. There's also fog games as well, which I will show you. Here's a fog game. It's the last bit here that we're not really going to get into, but a fog map, obviously the map is in Fog of War. I have imperfect information, I cannot see everything. But each unit has a vision range as well, and we won't get into the details of that, right? But just like how every unit has a movement range, each unit has a vision range. The recon all of a sudden has a huge vision range, right? So another aspect here that to spice up the gameplay. In the standard gameplay, we have perfect knowledge, and we are just making the best decisions that we can. There's no deception, really. Everything's in plain sight. It's all about how skillful a player can process all that information and see turns ahead. In a Fog of War match, a little bit different. Imperfect information, making decisions. Forests will hide your units to the point that you need an enemy unit has to be adjacent to a forest in order to see into it. There's some interesting play like that. Infantry that's standing on top of a mountaintop gets increased vision range, etc., etc. Kind of cool stuff. And for the most part, I know that was information overload, but that is all the basics of Advance Wars. If you already know it, it was a refresher course. If you didn't, hopefully it's enough or simple enough that you can understand a little bit of what's going on here. Because I'm going to be getting on a journey here. Like I said, I'm not good at this. I'm just learning how to play. I'm watching some other content creators who are good at the game. I'll put a link in there in the description for this video if you want to go check out competitive content creators who are providing guides and tutorials and replay analysis and things like that. Check out the 2 links that I'll be providing. If you like their content, of course, follow them and give them a comment. Let them know I sent you, right? Because networking. And all of a sudden, OO2 looked very slimy. But I had a lot of fun playing this game. So if you're interested in playing this game, I'll have a link for the website itself. Check out the content creators. If you like watching me play, please join me on this little journey that I've been taking, that I want to share with other people here as we go on this journey of figuring out how to figure out front switching, strong side, weak side concepts, build orders, capture orders, as well as a variety of COs, right? I think I forgot to talk about here is there's all these different commanders. All these commanders. Get out of here, advertisements. All these commanders, each with their own different ability, power, day-to-day, passive effect, and things like that, all with their strengths and weaknesses that you might expect, providing, of course, more variety in gameplay. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the future as we climb the global ranks.